Moment. All right. Hello, everyone. How are y'all doing tonight? Sorry, Miss Checking. You aren't frozen. Miss Dukes, how are you doing? Give me just a second. Let me do something here. Sorry, Miss. All right. Um, I've got the chat playing on a different screen so I can see the chat like directly as it comes up. So, well, how's everyone doing tonight? Is everyone doing okay? Um, well, Miss Dukes, I hope that you're okay. Um, as you guys can see, as you come into the room, I have a pinned comment up here. I want to get this out of the way, over with and done, so that Kirsten can tell her story, because tonight's focus isn't on me. Hello, Miss Janica. Tonight the focus isn't on me. I've actually tried to curate a platform where survivors and recovery survivors can come and tell their stories, because I feel like that's a needed niche on YouTube. However, I did pin my GoFundMe. I have a GoFundMe. And just a little bit of backstory on the GoFundMe. My ex-boyfriend is the one who bought me the car. It's to help purchase a car. I'm in dire straits at the moment. I didn't budget for a car breakdown. And he's basically going to sell the car out from under me because it's in his name. If you guys would just share it on your social medias, I'm not asking you to directly donate. I'm just asking you to share it. Like, that would be much appreciated. And yeah, that's about it for me. So, Miss Kirsten, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing all right.
All right. Do you want healers? Everyone is telling you that you look beautiful today.
Thank you. I feel like I look terrible, but okay.
Hello, Roni for Missing Persons PNW. I did also want to make a blanket statement to my mods. Please let everybody feel free to express how they feel in this certain chat room. I don't want any personal attacks on any of my panel guests, and that's it. Like, I don't want anybody timed out. If it's a rude comment, just delete it and move on. Guys, we're all adults. We are talking serious stuff here, and I feel like if you share your story, it's part of the healing process, and there needs to be a place that people feel safe. Okay, and I feel like, hey, True Crime Tamara. Yes, everybody is saying that you look gorgeous. So, mods, just let everybody speak freely, as long as there's no hate thrown at my panel guests or any of the chatters. We'll be doing good. Okay, Miss Kirsten, would you like to tell your story?
I'm going to close my because
Okay. Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't hear what you said to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, would you like to tell your story? You
kind of
have the
lagged right
floor.
up before I turned it. Oh, boy, it's needed. Oh, okay.
Is there any particular place that you would like to
Well,
start?
I was just going to start at the beginning.
Okay.
It happened in 1991. I used to walk from my swim team practices. I think it was they called it Optimus Club or something like that. It wasn't like anyway, it was swim team practice. It wasn't like a formal thing through school. But I was 14 at the time, and it was probably 2 or 3 miles from the pool and from swim practice. And and I would, after swim practice, like around noon or whatever, I would walk to my dad's office. And I was walking home, and there was a guy in a car. I don't he basically he honked at me, and I don't remember all of the conversation, but I got in the car with him. And at first he gave me a ride back to my dad's office. And then a day or so later, and this was back in the 90s. I don't even remember how we had contact, but it was a day or so later. And he worked at like this oil change place near the pool. And he came and he picked me up from swim practice, and it was, hey, a free ride. I didn't have to walk 2 or 3 miles. And instead of taking me back to my dad's office, he took me to some nearby quarries. There's limestone quarries, around where I grew up, and he took me to some of those quarries. And it was like I didn't know what was happening. And it was like we were in the car, and he's just driving, and he was just grabbing at me. He was grabbing at my breasts. He pulled one of my breasts out of my swimsuit. And we went to those quarries. And there are parts of it that are difficult to remember. But somehow he ended up taking off, getting my swimsuit off of me, and just he pushed me across the passenger seat. And he forced himself on me, and it was just I didn't know this guy. I mean, I know that his name was Doug, but it was it was barely acquaintance. And he was doing that. And there was limestone trucks driving by. And I couldn't move, because I just I guess I couldn't move. I did finally I was finally able to scream stop. And he didn't, or at least not immediately. And it was very painful. And then he put his pants back on. I put my swimsuit back on. And then he finally took me to my dad's office and just dropped me off. And I never told my dad. And then he died in March. So it's kind of like, now I'm free to say it. But I'm the kind of person I am. I always want to know, well, how did I get here? When things go wrong, how did I get here? And that was, I went through years, even decades, of looking at how did I get there, and what, just, and I never, my husband knows about it. We've talked about it a couple times, not a whole lot of detail.
Right.
And, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. It's like certain things, certain things, and it just sneaks up on me, where I can smell. All I smell is sour beer and cigarettes. I don't know why he was drinking in the middle of the workday, but I just, it smells almost like a fair or something like that. And I just, and it's like it is always sitting there, kind of like in the back of my sinuses. It's always sitting there, and it doesn't go away. And And then sometimes I'll just, different things can happen. People can touch me in a certain way, and all I feel is the way that he was grabbing me, and just the, I guess that I didn't have the right to tell him to stop. And just, just frozen. And it's really hard to describe.
Right. Wow.
It's like, for some reason, I felt like I didn't have the right to tell him to stop or tell him to pull over, whatever. And it's always kind of, it's been there in the back of my mind, this feeling of that I'm not enough, that and I'm ashamed of myself. And
Why? You should never be ashamed.
I'm
You didn't
just
ask for this.
enough. And well, it was, I would say that the feeling is a lot. There's a place that I got the things that happens, those worthwhile. That's how I got there. And I wanted the attention. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted the attention.
Yeah, but at 14, you did say 14, right?
Because, but yeah, it was just, there was all these feelings of not good enough. So the attention, just, it was just too enticing. And that's, it was just, the shame was there before the rape. So, I've done decades of counseling to get to the bottom of, just kind of, like I was telling you before, I didn't like the person that my parents raised me to be is a victim. And I want to, I mean, bad things still happen, not like a rape, but, there's unfortunate things that still happen. But, I did a lot of counseling, and I did a lot of counseling from the standpoint of, and I want to clarify this, from the standpoint of looking at what is it, not what's wrong with me, just what can I improve? Where were the walls around me that keep my heart safe? Where
Right.
were they weak? And a lot of people, they call that, they'll say that that's victim shaming or whatever, that we should be, raising our boys, to not rape women.
Right. Well,
Reality
that
is,
should be taught
huh?
anyway. Like, hands down, that should be taught anyway. And that's not victim shaming. That's not victim blaming. That's just being practical and logical. Like,
Right. But I think there's something that I don't think is addressed is, okay, so what do we do between now and tomorrow? I don't think that, to me, that's realistic. And to me, that's realistic. And looking at, I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at how we get ourselves into bad situations, because, it's hard for me to explain. Looking at how we get, our maladaptive behaviors and habits. I don't think that there's anything wrong with looking at that, because looking at that keeps me safe.
right. Absolutely.
And, and some people, when you present that to them, they see that, as victim blaming. But, like I said, I've done therapy for over 30 years. I've done a lot of different kinds of therapy. And and some of the therapies that I've done, they look at who how do I view myself in the world, and how can I take care of myself. I can't totally change the view, but I can still fortify the weak parts in my wall. And I can always go back and I can review my boundaries. So, it's I don't always understand boundaries because they were so bad with growing up, because my mother is severely her her personality disorders they're severe, and
Right.
I had to look it up. What are personal boundaries? And I had to go through lists and look at different circumstances of life and make choices and sit down and think about each one. I don't know if that makes me crazy, but I sat down and looked at each one, and with deliberation, and I looked at each one and I made those choices. And I can always go back and I can make new choices. I still have those notebooks. I can go back and I can change them. So it's boundaries are hard, especially when you weren't allowed to have them growing up. So it's just like my mother, there were no boundaries. Like literally, she was very overweight. And this is how boundaryless, my childhood was. When we would, my dad, we were, maybe upper middle class. And when we would fly somewhere, my mother would literally lift up the arm of the seat and take up the space. I wasn't allowed to have my own seat on an airplane. Does that make sense? She would take some of my seat so that I had to sit, all scrunched in next to her. And it's just you know, it's like, I don't know, it's almost kind of like, she was actually putting part of her body on top of my body. That's how little boundaries, everything was about her. And yeah, I wasn't allowed to have them. I wasn't allowed to say no. I had to do whatever I was told without, without thinking about it. I just had to do exactly as I was told. So, that's kind of, that's how I got there, is I wasn't allowed to have boundaries. And, like, um, I wasn't allowed to have boundaries, and that I was in such a bad situation, and my dad made me stay. He wouldn't take care of me. He wouldn't get me out of it. To me, that said, you're not worthwhile. I'm not willing to take, you're not good enough to take care of, you're not good enough to keep safe. So, it's how I got there. And, I still do a lot of, I still kind of do my own counseling. I have had a lot of different substance abuse problems. I think my most recent time when I had a problem with substances, I actually had to go to rehab, and they would ask me, they would say, what's your drug of choice? I would say, which time? And they would think that I was just, making a joke or something. No, I wasn't. I've had, dependency problems with hydrocodone, oxycodone, what is it, Valium, and oh my gosh, what else? Oh, I forget. Just about all the benzodiazepines.
Right.
Um, and most recently it was alcohol, and I was drinking something like 2 liters of alcohol a day. And, it was, there was stuff going on in my life that I couldn't cope with, and I didn't know what to do. It's kind of like the same thing, fight, flight, or, freeze. And alcohol was the flight. And, yeah, that was, the people at the alcohol recovery place, they were like, that's a lot of alcohol. So, and it was wine, and I put on a lot of weight from it. I think it was 40 pounds that I lost, like right after I went into rehab. But, it's just, it's, I don't, it's, I kind of, sometimes I think to myself, that this should be the last time, because there's nothing legal left and I'm too much of a chicken to break the law.
Right.
So, but, it's, I guess I also wanted to say that recovery looks different for everyone. There's a lot of different kinds of therapy out there. And, there's, most people start with what they call cognitive behavioral therapy. That's where most people start. And it's very common. Most people do that. But then, there's dialectical behavior therapy. There's a lot of, what do you call it? Support groups. They're doing those two. But I go to SMART meetings, and it's self-management, and I can't remember the rest. But it's self-managing. It teaches you how to, figure out what your irrational beliefs are. One of them would be, everyone has to like me. Everyone has to love me, or I'm worthless. And that's an irrational belief. And, it's not a put down, saying that there's something wrong with you for believing it. It's getting you like, okay, this is the irrational belief. Here's where I work from here. This is where my starting point is. And then argue with the belief. And it's just kind of, it's hard to explain. But, there's a lot of tools, and there's a lot of different tools, a lot of different ways to get through this, and I want to encourage people, what is it? My counselor, she said, pretty much you just need somebody to talk to. She was like, there are no more tools for you. She's like, you've done everything.
Oh.
So, just, but there's no one way to get through rape or through substance abuse. There's no one way. And, you don't have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. There's, I think it's called SAMHSA. Pretty much if you just look up, substance abuse, SAMHSA is going to come up, and, they'll point you in the direction of non-denominational therapy where you can get help. Because I'm not a Christian. I'm just not a Christian, not anymore. And so I wanted something that was non-denominational. So, yeah, Lenny's right. The fraud, what is it? There's this constant, like, a lot of people, or a lot of women, they feel like that always somebody are going to find out that they're a fraud, especially successful women. Well, sometimes it really gets after successful women. So, yeah, that's pretty much, that's it. It's, in talking about, your experience, and talking about, you know, I guess addressing those, you know, those irrational beliefs and looking at how you got there, it's okay. And it doesn't make you that you're blaming victims. It's okay to look at how you got there, you know, and if anybody gives you hell for looking at how you got there, let me know, because, you know, I don't know, I'll thump them on the head or something. But, you know, it's, there's no right way or wrong way to do recovery. So it's, yeah,
You're absolutely right. And did you want to say anything about, or did you want to talk about any of the neurological aspect of what makes you you, or no, you don't want to get
oh,
into
yeah,
that
I can talk about that. I've been diagnosed with nonverbal learning disorder, and you would think that, you know, I would have a difficult time verbalizing or whatever. No, obviously I don't. I can talk your ear off, and I'm always up on a panel somewhere. But basically, it's a learning disorder, and it pretty much, I am very dependent on what people say to me. I don't know what people want or what they mean. Sometimes I can get it. I don't always know. I can't, I have a hard time intuiting that kind of stuff. You know, I've done a lot of, you know, there's more and more stuff out there for children and to teach them how to interact with the world and those around them, but there's nothing out there for adults. So I've done a lot of research, and, you know, I guess I've done a lot of research on what different, you know, facial things mean, and, you know, looking at words, phrasing, like how people, because I'm very literal. So if I use a word, I'm using it literally. And sometimes I'll get confused when people will use it the way people do it commonly. And I have, you know, a very dry sense of humor. You know, and I guess apparently, different people have told me over the years, well, people don't know how to take you. And I'm always like, well, what does that mean? You know, it's like I'm very dependent on emojis. So, but yeah, what is it? The neuropsychologist that tested me, he said, you know, learning disorders, they always travel in pairs. So I also do have ADHD. And you're going to laugh at this. I was so tired and exhausted, mentally tired and exhausted. I got to this one point of, I had to do this test where like this X flashed on the screen, and I was just so tired and I got confused. And, you know, the doctor, he said, you know, right click whenever you see this, you know, whatever. And so I was doing it. And then he comes out and he was like, are you doing the test? And I said, well, yeah. I said, but, you know, he had made a point of saying right click. And as soon as he walked away, I forgot what he said. And I was like, well, he made a point of saying which click I'm supposed to do. So it's left click. And so he had me redo the whole test. And he comes out and he's like, are you really missing these many? And I was just like, because he had me do a key on the space bar. Well, I don't like real loud space bars because it's distracting.
Right.
So then I was doing it too softly. And he ended up sending me home without completing the test. He shut down his office, all of his patients, everything for 3 days because he had university, you know, the university came out there, the IT department came out there trying to figure out what was wrong with this computer, why it wasn't working. And then they figured out, okay, the computer's working fine. And while they're troubleshooting this, he happened to call the manufacturer of the program, and they said, "Oh yeah, there's what is it? There's a setting basically where it'll kind of keep an eye on the person." I shut down this man's office because my brain was so tired, and he was just like, "I have used this software for 18 years, and I had no idea that that setting was there." So it's just, I don't know. I've run over. One time I got a deer stuck in the lawnmower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my husband was very upset about that. Again, my brain was distracted, and it was I don't know why, but there was a part of a deer carcass in the front yard, and I ran it over, and my husband looked under there, and he was like, "Oh," first he was like, "Well," he goes, "Well, is it dead?" And I was like, "Oh God, I hope so." See how I take things literal?
Right. Yeah.
And then he was looking under there, and he was like, "Oh my God, there's a hoof." I was like, "Oh no." But yeah, that's kind of how. Um, Rabbit, you're killing me. Oh my God. No, I would think the neighbor dog who drug it up there was probably upset. Yeah, it stopped all the blades. I shut it off because it started choking up and making this horrible smell. But
Oh, I
yeah.
see.
So yeah, that's the trouble that ADHD can get people into. So that same day, I also knocked over my husband's motorcycle. He
Oh,
was
no. That's
yeah. I was
really bad.
yeah. I was well. The lawnmower is old, and I used to have to we would have to start it by jumping it, and I forgot to put it in neutral or whatever, and it burned rubber. It actually left black marks across the garage floor, and knocked over my husband's motorcycle. So if you have anybody in your life who gets into these ridiculous catastrophes, they might have ADHD. So yeah, it's like my counselor, she was like, "It's almost like you're not getting enough time to make a good decision." So, but that's right, Dukes. Yes. Yes. So, but yeah, I because of all the stuff I've been through, I take 2 antidepressants, a mood stabilizer, anti-anxiety medicine, and it's just and yeah, I am a testament to the modern pharmacology. So hey, it works. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, if anybody has any, I guess, questions about different kinds of therapies, or where to get help, um, that's something that I can answer. But it's just, I made a mistake. I got in the wrong car.
Ellen, you can't. You honestly, at that age, you can't blame yourself for that either. I remember feeling the same exact way as a 14-year-old. And I'm being completely honest with you. I had a neighbor guy. And guys, please throw up trigger warnings because this may be triggering to somebody out there. I had a neighbor that was one of my dad's friends that liked to take pictures of all the younger girls around the neighborhood, and I couldn't figure out why he wouldn't take any pictures of me, right? Well, he knew my dad, and he knew that my dad would probably go down there and beat his ass if he actually did what he did with all the other girls to me. Um, but I pestered and pestered and pestered and pestered because I'm like, aren't I pretty enough? And I was 16 at the time, right? I still felt like I needed that, like any attention was good attention to me at that time. And like I've told you, I was actually a very lucky kid because I never experienced that as a kid. However, he did finally relent, and he did, he let me come to his house because he was, he had his photography set up in at his house, and he took pictures. Well, not only did he take pictures, but he asked me if I would go topless, which is what he asked all the other girls. And I'm like, no, no, all you're getting's off the shoulder. You're not getting any booby pictures because, I was quiet and shy. I just thought he wanted to take pictures of pretty girls, and I thought I fit the category. And so I just left. I left. I got really, really scared. I already had a friend with me anyway, so she witnessed everything. And like 6 months to a year later, he was arrested because one of my friends, he raped her. Um, she was 16 and he was a 40-year-old man. That's I mean, you don't do that. And it started out with the pictures.
Yeah.
So I remember feeling the same exact way at that age. Any attention from you're testing your boundaries at that age. It's not, you cannot, absolutely not blame yourself. It's in all the psychology books that I took for nursing. At that age, you literally are testing your boundaries and seeing how far you will go. And thank goodness I didn't want to test it any further because I mean, I would have probably ended up in the same boat as my friend. And she's no longer here. She led a life of prostitution, but she had other things wrong with her, drug abuse and prostitution being the two main things that she had wrong with her. But she was very promiscuous. Just, the whole high school knew her. But I mean, it still doesn't make what he did right. As a grown man, he should have known better than to even be that way towards little girls. But apparently, he had done this all across the world. He had done this all across the world because he was in the military. So he has victims across the world. Um, and he finally got caught once he come back home, and he was retired from the military, but he's in jail or he's passed away now. I don't know. I never kept up with it. His parents died, which he was living with his parents, so I mean, I never kept up with it because of that. And I mean, now looking back, I'm like, man, I was so stupid. Here I was begging this dude to take pictures of me because he actually like, he just, oh, you're just a kid, you're just a stupid little kid, but bring your friends over, I'll shoot your friends but not you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I mean, he actually knew that if he, and I never let anybody know what he did till after he was arrested. And then, by that time it was too late. My dad couldn't go and confront him, which I doubt he would have ever done anyway. Um, Only because I'm a girl, and it was all about my brothers. It's still all about my brothers, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So, um,
Yeah, and I never, it was so long ago, I never reported, there was, stuff with my dad, and I didn't report because, come on, it was the 90s. What can they do? You know, Nowadays it's so easy to track people, um, and figure out where these predators are. Um, Hopefully that's, making it so more victims get some justice. But, even that, the court process, I've seen a lot of stuff and it's just horrible. But that's the way our process is. That whoever's, you're, you have the right to stand against your accuser. And, so I just, yeah, I mean, there was no sense in it. Why bother? There was no sense in it.
Well, you matter too, and I mean, and I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, I get it. It was the 90s because that's when all that stuff that zhuzh happened to me was in the 90s because I was, you know, at 90. Well, no, it would have been the 80s for me, or, well, whatever it was, 80s, 90s, late 80s, early 90s, because I had my son in 93 and I was 18. So, um, but your story is just as legitimate as everybody else's, and don't ever put yourself down for what you went through because it wasn't your fault. Absolutely, it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's just, how I've approached recovery. Sometimes people, they take it as victim blaming, whereas it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like, I don't know, has anybody ever had to dig up, dandelions? They got those real long roots and you just have to hack and hack and hack at them. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like what I did. Or mulberry bushes. You just have to hack at them. And it's kind of what I did, because it's like, it felt like a root, that there was something, that was invading my spirit and just breaking in there. And yeah, and it's what I did. A lot of people do it differently. Everybody does it differently. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Um, yeah, it doesn't, everybody goes through it differently. Everybody goes
right.
through life
And
differently.
you're right. And your story is just as valid as everybody else's story. And I feel absolutely honored that you came on my channel to share your story with us. Like I've told you before on my channel, I really want it just to be an open forum for everybody. Everybody, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I just want everybody to feel comfortable here, because it's not just going to be focused on, like, I just want, to be honest, it's going to be a hodgepodge channel. Whatever I'm feeling that day is probably what's going to happen. I don't know that I'll ever have a regular schedule, because I work, sometimes over 40 hours a week, 10-hour days.
Wow.
So yeah, I love my job. Um, it's a stressful, and I have to think with my job, so I escape through YouTube, right? I would just plug in YouTube and do my job. But as far as having a regular schedule like all these other channel holders, I probably will never do that. I did promise Dukes that I would do some crochet tutorials, which I've got my tripod coming in. It should be here tomorrow so that I can. Um,
Yep. Janica's got it. Yep. Absolutely. You didn't talk about it back then. And Children's Services didn't care. All you had to have was some place to sleep and food. That's it.
right.
Yeah.
And I
And
mean, I guess times are getting better. I mean, we're at least acknowledging that there's a problem, right?
Mhm.
Not every case is there's not going to be a good outcome for every case, but we can still support one another. Um,
Right. All we can do is, you know, and, actually for quite a while, I was very much into the Bible, and, we all fall short. And I don't know, I guess I just try to accept reality. Just be accepting reality doesn't mean that I think it's okay.
right. And
Yeah.
Kirsten, Lynn Diaz, because I've put the question up. Can you see it?
Says everyone who's been through some kind of trauma, how did you learn to love yourself again? I would say that learning to love myself, I still love myself enough to dig at the roots of the problem. It was, we blame ourselves because we feel like we have so much control. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, little kids, and it's ultimately it's kind of a little bit of narcissism. We are all a little bit narcissistic, but little kids thinking it's their fault, that their parents are getting divorced. And that's what it goes back to is, just love yourself enough to look for another way. That's where to start, is just love yourself enough to ask for help. That's the first step.
Right. And I guess I could answer that too as well, Lynn. But I'm almost 50, and I know that I've been blessed with a forgiving spirit, only because it's been proven over time and time again. Like, I don't hold grudges. I can't, for my sanity, I can't. And for me, I've not experienced, I never experienced anything as a child, so I think it would probably be different. Like, my story would definitely be different today if I had. Um, I think that I couldn't imagine dealing with that as a child. I don't think that I would have the mental clarity to handle that. So, I mean, I'm uber blessed that every situation that could have turned out bad, I was always asked, which was weird. So I just ran away. Um, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It was just like they always ask, and I said no, and I ran away. I didn't give them the opportunity because my mom scared the bejesus out of me when I was little, like the bejesus out of me. She put the fear of God and everything in me. Like, you don't let stranger danger. Your parts are your parts. Don't let anybody touch you. Now, when I became a teenager, that became a different story, and I always tell people when I turned 17, I got stupid because I got boy crazy. But I don't regret my kids. So I I just have a forgiving spirit. I've never held a grudge. I never want to hold a grudge. Um and so I just forget it. Like, if I go to bed, it's and it's gone. Like, if you tell me something and I don't like it and I go to sleep, it's just gone. I make jokes about it, but it's the truth. Like, I can keep a secret because you tell me it and I go to bed, it's gone. It's just I'm just yeah. So
Yeah, it's I used to hold grudges a lot because I thought they kept me safe, and they don't.
no, they
I
don't.
used to say that I broke myself on myself. Just kind of, I don't know, kind of like thinking of like crashing waves and stuff like that. I broke myself on myself. Yeah, the grudges thing, that's not good. I used to have a job. I quit recently just because there was some things going on, but it was also an element of my depression. And I used to push really hard and push harder than what I should have for my age. And I think that I burnt myself out. Um, and I'm the same age as you. I'm 47. I'm going to be 48 in June. And, I burnt the candle at both ends, and there's not a whole lot left. It just, So,
Right. Yeah, well, at this point in my life, I have no choice but to work, so I'll keep doing the things.
yeah, I'm
You
I'm
know,
very, very fortunate. I'm extremely fortunate. I don't know what if I was in a different if it wasn't for my husband, I don't know where I would be. So, you know, I
right.
would, you know, the whole a lot of people say that they're survivors, but that implies that there was something right to begin with. Um, and I guess I feel like there was so many holes and cracks and dandelions that, you know, they just had to be, I had to sift through everything, decide what I wanted to keep, decide what to throw away, and just start over. Like, you know, if a house, you know, pretty much I had to burn my house down and start over
Yes.
because I didn't want to be who my parents raised me to be. They raised me to be a victim,
Right. Right.
you
That's
know.
no way to live your life for sure. Um,
No. So, yeah, and I've got my, you know, my psychiatrist, she always asks about my dogs and whether or not I'm training them and stuff like that because they are a big part of my therapy. You know, the kind of dogs that I have, they're very, very smart, and every day is um, it's a scramble for that last 10 IQ points, you know, because they'll trick you. But they force me to stay present to work with them because, you know, one flick of the tail, one little, you know, twitch of the skin, it can be an entire um, conversation with an animal. And you have to watch them, especially with healers. You have to watch them very, very close. And, you know, I'm a big proponent of breathing through your stomach. That helps a lot with, you know, panic attacks. And another one is, I think it's called like 333, where you try to think of three things that you're feeling right now, three colors, you know, three things that you see. It kind of distracts you from the anxiety. But yeah, my dogs are a part of my therapy. And that's what my psychiatrist always asks me about. What do you know with them dogs? So, because you know, I've taught myself a lot about neuropsychology and psychology and different therapies because I wanted to get better so bad. I just wanted to
right.
get better so badly. So, yeah. But that's about it. Well, I don't know. Lynn will tell you my dogs aren't very, they're not really stress relievers. They're kind of intense.
Yeah, but
So,
that one's just a puppy. Like I've seen some of your videos. I love watching those videos. They're so cute. Um, Mods, if you can grab Healer's link, I know she really doesn't want a lot of traffic, but those videos are really, really absolutely cute. If you could drop her link, um, I know that she's got 2 channels, but the My 3 Healers, like anytime she uploads a little doggy video, I'm there for it. I love watching her train her dog. Like it's the sweetest thing I've ever seen.
yeah, you can't, if you're not fair with a healer, they'll resent you for it. You have to be firm and fair, or else that's a good way to get bitten. So that's,
Right.
you know, if you have one that's not balanced, then that's a good way to get bitten too. But yeah, so, you know, just be kind to yourself, you know. Um,
Absolutely, and you too. You too.
yeah.
Um,
If you need help, ask for help. There's a lot of
right.
people out there that want to help you. And if the first person you meet, if they suck, go to somebody else. You got to just keep on. Keep, just keep, you know, digging until you get that dandelion out of there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So everybody's going to go outside with their asparagus forks and dig out dandelions.
Yeah,
So
they're something else, that's for sure. And then they just keep coming back because, they get
yeah,
blown by the wind.
if you don't dig them out, they just keep coming back. You gotta get out there and just keep after them. So, yeah, um, yeah, it's yes, Lynn, a good therapist is key. So, yeah, and there's, especially with COVID, there's a lot of ways to find counselors. Like I see my alcohol counselor on Zoom. Um, so, yes, Dukes has it. I do like dogs more than people. So sometimes if somebody's especially hurtful, I can just turn off YouTube and bye. So, but maybe you guys have a little bit of a better idea of where I'm coming from, and maybe a little bit of why I'm such a weirdo. And yeah, I'm pretty harmless. Most of the time I'm kidding. Sometimes I'm most of the time that I'm kidding, or sometimes like what I'm saying is dead on true, but it also a lot of people just laugh at it. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some of the stuff that you put in the chat, and I've laughed a lot. Like you come with the jokes, and I absolutely adore you for that. And then there's times where you say things that are so literal that I'm like, okay, that's healers, and I totally understand where you're coming from. And I adore you either way. I would never want you to water down yourself for anybody else. I feel like um, you are uniquely you, and I love you for that.
yeah, can I share and this is something that, because I had a lot of feelings of, I was, other kids didn't always understand me, and I learned to avoid people. But there's something that I've found, and I will spell the name of the person after, because it's somebody that not many people, he's a philosopher, but his name is Marcus Aurelius. He's an old philosopher from a very long time ago. But something that is very meaningful to me, my feelings of rejection and stuff like that. But the saying is, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. So,
Right.
think about that. That's
That's the
pretty
truth.
deep. That's a
It
pretty
is.
deep couple of sentences. So, but the name of the person, usually if you get just the first few letters right, it'll pull it right up. But it's Marcus, and the name is Aurelius, and it's Aurelius.
Oh,
You
wait a
know,
minute. Say that again so I can put it in chat. Marcus.
it's Marcus Aurelius, and it's Aurelius.
All right.
So
I
I'm
have put that in there.
I kind of I just about anything interests me. So,
Right.
but yeah, that's something, because I used to get so upset and be like, but that's not true about me. And I think I even got that upset. That's not true about me. And I did. I told myself that as much as I could. So, and then at some point it does fall apart or I fall apart on myself. But yeah, so yeah, yeah, I try to just, I tell people I laugh into the darkness. I laugh into it. Other people try to run away from it, and I just try to laugh at it because it's not going away. So I might
Right.
as well laugh right into it.
Right.
What else is there to do? That's all I got.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Um,
Sometimes I'll make inappropriate jokes about, maybe depression or anxiety, stuff like that. There's not any harm meant. It's just me laughing into the dark. So yeah.
right.
But just, yeah, I want to, people are, you're worth it, you're worthwhile, and just keep looking. If you can't find the right person, keep looking. Just keep looking. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so I think I've said just about everything I had to say, and I've chewed up a whole bunch of time. Um, and I'm sure y'all are hungry through all of this. Oh yes, Rabbit, I got my refrigerator cleaned, and I get this like little iceberg under my meat and cheese drawer. I got that dug out, and Oliver thought it was a ball, and he chased the ice all around. The ice I couldn't get in the bucket. He ended up chasing it all over the kitchen floor. But yeah, so I got that part done. My husband and I are going to go through the freezer tomorrow. So I even cleaned the little seals.
That's
So that's
awesome. That's awesome.
about
Well,
it. Yeah.
all right, guys. Well, I think I am going to yeah, it's at the hour mark. I don't want to keep y'all on here forever and ever. I do I absolutely wanted to say, Kirsten, you are appreciated. I see you all over these YouTube streets, and just know I adore you. You know you've got my number. You can text me anytime. Um,
Thank you. So I must
and
not be doing too bad because they keep letting me up on panels. So
right, right. Yeah, you're just a breath of fresh air most days. I like I've told you, I adore you. So I will be let me go through here and just do a little roll call because that's what I've been doing the last two lives. Like I haven't like caught everybody coming in. So um let's see here. Let me scroll back up a little bit. True Crumb Tamara, thank you for being here. Sistina, thank you for being here. White Rabbit, thank you for being here. Ellen Smith, thank you for being here. Dukes, thank you for being here. Lynn Kim Maple Syrup, thank you for being here. Lynn DS, thank you for being here. Diana, thank you for being here. Lenny, thank you for being here. Checking, as always, thank you for being here. Lucia, thank you for being here. B, thank you for being here. I'm trying to see if I missed anybody here. True Crime Drama Queen, thank you for being here. I know that some things are triggering for you, and thank you for coming and supporting. Lenny, thank you for being here. Let's see here. Did I get everybody? And if y'all wonder why I'm sounding so nasally, I have Punchline. Thank you for being here. I have been taking my allergy medication, but this season it's just kicking my butt like crazy. Lisa Jones, thank you for being here.
this is where a neti pot could probably actually help. Is I don't know if this sounds weird, but I use it to I think of it as washing out my sinuses.
Right, and
I
I
guess
have
that's what it is, but
at,
it'll wash the pollen out.
right at this time of year. Nothing helps. Like nothing helps me. My allergies are that bad. Janica, thank you for being here. Diana, thank you for being here. Brooksy, thank you for being here. I am not going to say the name in parentheses because I will definitely butcher it. I'm just not really good with Rusaka. Is Brooksy Rusaka? Thank you for being here. I think that's how Rabbit says it. Just going back. I'm sorry, guys. And anybody that I missed, thank you for being here. You were definitely worth it. Thank you for supporting my channel. Like I said, there's going to be a couple more people. I have emailed Scott H. And I'm just waiting for him to email me back. Because I really think that he has something to offer the recovery community. Granny's watching. I'm waiting for her email back. So if you guys catch the replay, please email me back. I would love to have you up on my channel to feature you. And Mouse, for you to envy. I completely missed you. I don't know how I missed you. Thank you for being here. You guys, like I always say, kindness is key. And reach out to your loved ones. If you haven't talked to them in a while, just reach out to them. Let them know that you still, that you're around and that you care. Please don't forget to smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell for notifications. And I will see you guys in the next one, okay? I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. I'm out.